How are you doing? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the world options trading program. And what we're really quickly going to talk about is why winners concentrate on winning. And this is going to be a really good video. It's going to be a short one. We're not going to be here really long. For people that want to really understand how to win, what they need to focus on, what they need to optimize, and what they need to try to avoid to make sure they stay in a winning position. If you are a person where you're really not focused on winning, you enjoy going on the internet and aggregating around a bunch of people where all they can talk about is losing, and they're cool with that, this is going to be the wrong video for you. So this particular video is people that are interested in winning, understanding what it's going to take for them to be successful, and how they can continue to optimize their performance to lead to more and more success down the road. And so what you can do is you can listen to this video and take some of these principles and implement them into your program. And so what we want to talk about is winning, right? And what you may want to focus on if you want to put yourself in a position to win. And the reason why we're talking about this particular video is because, the world has changed, right? So we got these social media platforms, and what they're really good at doing is aggravating like-minded people. And we understand that a lot of people in the world, and I didn't really understand this until social media became a little bit more robust, is a lot of people in the world are really dissatisfied about a lot of things, but they really don't have it inside them to do anything about it. So what they do is that they jump on social media and they get around a bunch of other people that are also dissatisfied. And then they feel a little bit better about their situation because they understand that I'm in a group of people that have similar minds. And then they all sit around and they get like emotionally excited around the problem, but they really don't have a desire to implement the solution, because then it means that certain responsibility and leadership has to come out of them that they're not willing, because if they were, they wouldn't be in the situation that they're in right now today. So we understand that there's very much a psychological difference between a winner and a person that loses. And you're not a loser because you took a loss. You're a loser because you stay in that particular position, right? Winners get knocked down and get back up. Losers get knocked down and they stay down. That's the difference, right? So I'm gonna repeat myself. Winners get knocked down and they figure a way to get back up and get back into the game. Losers get knocked down and they stay down. And they find a bunch of other people that also stay down, and they feel a little bit better about staying down, right? Because they stay down. And now they feel, well, I can't be by myself because I got all these other people that stay down. Then somebody introduces into the environment where here's who you can blame for staying down. And then so now we focus on that. And then now I feel a little bit better because now I have a justification or a reason why I stayed down. This is a big part of social media. This didn't exist 25, 30 years ago. A lot of these people were on their own, right? A lot of these people were on their own. They had to figure out life on their own. They weren't able to jump on social media and get content about, well, you don't necessarily like the way your life is going. Here's something that you can focus on to make the fact that your life isn't going the way you want it to go a little bit better. And you can focus on that and feel better about your life, because you're not going to do anything to actually change your life, right? I told people for years, and I don't want to sidetrack it, but I want to go ahead and say this, and we're going to get to it. Rush Limbaugh was a hell of an entertainer, one of the top radio people that's ever done it. And he really understood his audience. So he got on the internet, he got on the radio, AM radio, and he fed his audience that you don't like your life because of what people in DC are doing. And he would keep feeding them the list of people in DC, gave them colloquial names, and essentially, dehumanized certain people. And I don't mean a dehumanization from a negative standpoint, but he did dehumanize them, right? And what he did was he fed them these groups of people as a justification for why they weren't successful. Now, Rush Limbaugh was a winner professionally. The guy really operated professionally at a very high level. His audience was primarily a bunch of losers, because they sat on the radio and listened to a guy tell them that they don't like their life because of some people in DC and how they're operating. You know what Rush would never be able to do, or he would lose his audience in probably a week, is if he ever got on that radio and told his audience, well, the reason why you don't like your life is because of you. You're the reason why you don't like your life. Because if you were consumed with being successful in this world, you wouldn't have time to listen to me for 3 hours, 5 days a week. You be too busy trying to go get your success. So he found an audience of people that wanted a justification for why they didn't like their life and why they was losing. And he was able to build a really, really strong audience. I could only imagine if he had the full capacity of social media, what he could have built on the YouTube, because it would have been 50 times bigger. Because like I said, he, as a professional, operated at a very, very high level. A lot of people didn't like his content, but as a professional, the guy operated at a very high level. He understood how to win in his profession. And he understood that I can aggregate a bunch of losers and I can win off of their inability to figure out how to win, because he's never going to get them the solution, because they don't want the solution. They want to justify their losing. So that now has transitioned to social media, where a lot of people are losing and they jump on these particular platforms and they get fed this list of people that are the reason why they're losing. So, you're dealing with this type of people. That's why you're losing. Nah, you're losing because of you. You're not losing because of the people that you're dealing with. And many of these people will change the people that they deal with and still lose. And then it becomes, well, now it's these people. So then you got to continue to change the people that you're dealing with, because you don't want to deal with the fact that it's you, or you're losing because these people aren't doing what you want them to do. Now you're losing because of you. But if you believe that you're losing because you can't get these people to do exactly what you want them to do, well, then you never have to take responsibility for yourself. Because if you can only get those people to do exactly to the letter what you wanted them to do, and then when that happens, abracadabra, presto, you automatically now become a winner. Well, deep down inside your heart, you're never going to make that happen. So now you have a justification for being a loser. So if you're very talented on social media by aggregating these losers, you can make a lot of money, especially on this Google platform. There's a lot of money to be made, and the money's relative, because, what's interesting is Google's doing literally billions in ad revenue per quarter, per 90 days. And we on YouTube talking about millions of dollars that these particular platform creators are making is a lot of money. But the ad revenue is in the billions with a B, right? So the money's relative. So what Google has figured out is that if we can help content creators aggregate people, we can make billions, we'll pay them millions, and that's a hell of a business model. And some of the content creators, they're successful in aggregating a bunch of losers, right? The people are just losing, and they're looking to get into a community of losing, and they have these excuses. If I just got around these type of people, I could win. Nah, it's you. It's not the people. Is your environment, your group important? Yes. But at the end of the day, you are part of what makes the environment. So if the environment is so bad and you're part of the environment, what is your role in making the environment bad? You can't ask yourself that question, because then you got to take responsibility for stuff. If I just have to change, who I'm dealing with at this particular time, right? Then at the end of the day, it's always me. Or I'm looking for somebody else to do what I want them to do. And if I can just get them to do exactly what I want them to do, then I can be successful. Well, what is a possibility that you're going to get somebody else to do exactly what you want them to do? But see, as long as that is the goal that is way out there down the road that I'm never going to reach, I always have a rationale or an excuse of why I'm not winning. So this is very, very powerful as to this is going on. So if you are looking to get out of that loop, I may be able to help you with some information. If you're not looking to get out of that loop, I'm here to tell you the majority of the world is losing. So you're going to always be able to find a community to hang out with. If you're a loser, you can go anywhere in this world and find a whole bunch of people to be successful with. Why? Because a lot of people are successful at losing, right? So you're never going to run out of people to hang out with. There's a lot of room at the bottom of every society. That's where the most amount of room is at, right? It don't start getting tight till you start trying to get to the top. So let's get into it. Winners focus on these two things. What is it going to take for me to win? First thing, it's going to be mindset. That's the most important part. How is your mind constructed? Is it constructed properly for you to be successful? Right? What kind of thoughts do you have? What do you believe about yourself? What are you focused on? Right? What stories do you tell yourself when you wake up in the morning? What stories do you tell yourself when you have trials, tribulations, and hardships? Right? What do you keep repeating to yourself about what's going on in the world? That's the most important thing, is that mindset. If you get that wrong, it's going to be very difficult to build off a bad foundation or a bad platform. Second thing is work. What kind of work are you willing to put in? What are you willing to do to get the success that you say you desire? Right? What kind of work are you willing to put in? And I don't necessarily mean the no sleep crowd, right? I'm not necessarily meaning that, because that can be, from a health standpoint, detrimental to you. But I just mean, what kind of work are you willing to put in on your goal? Now, if you don't want to get no sleep, knock yourself out. Just make sure you got a really good insurance plan. Okay? But what kind of work are you willing to do to put yourself in a position to be successful? Right? What are you willing to do? And a lot of times that's going to separate you from the other people who really don't want to do the work. So then I say, well, you know what? If I just can get everybody to do what I want them to do, I can be successful, which really means that I don't want to do the work, because that's never going to happen. So now I got an excuse for not doing the work, because I can't get everybody to do what I want them to do. Because if this person would only just do this, I could be successful. That's because I don't really want to do the work. So now I got an excuse. Second thing is leadership. What leadership? So first, leadership starting with you. Many of us are failing at leading ourselves. For a very long time, I failed at leading myself. That was what my leadership flaw was. So I couldn't lead nobody else until I learned how to be successful at leading me. Right? So then I had to learn how to lead me to become successful at leading other people. Many of us are unsuccessful at leading ourselves, but we trying to lead other people. Don't work that way. You got to lead yourself first. You got to be successful at leading you. And you know deep down inside your heart whether or not you're successful at leading yourself. So, you can put the front on for social, but you know deep down inside your heart whether or not you're successful at leading you. Right? So then once you become successful at leading you, then you can start focusing on trying to lead, right, your followers, the people around you, groups of people, your team, your unit, your family, things of that nature. But the first person you got to be successful at leading is you. And it's a day in, day out job. Right? It's not, I got to this particular point, now I'm good for the rest of my life. No, it's day in and day out. Because you're going to always have challenges, right, that you got to try to overcome. And you got to keep developing as a leader of yourself. And then, like I say, then you expand that out. Okay? So there was an interview I was watching between Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. And Kobe was talking about a finals that they lost to Detroit back in the day. And he kind of explained how Detroit played them defensively and how that didn't allow them to move the ball up the court, which made Shaq have to move a little bit higher up in the post. I kind of understood what they were saying, because I understand the basics of post play. And Kobe, at the end of that, he said, well, you know what? I didn't do as good as a job as I could of helping us overcome that scenario. So he took the ownership as a leader of that team that I was not successful in this particular area. And that kind of led to the lack of success we had in this finals. Now, he may not have said that when they lost back in, I think this was like 03, 04. Right? But in the 2000s, he was willing to admit that. That's the leadership. This was the role I played in this going wrong. And that's why we weren't able to have the success. So then I learned from that. I got to improve, because the number one person I got to lead is myself. So when I see the flaw in me, I got to do something to improve that. A lot of y'all are looking for somebody else to point out a flaw in themselves, and you ain't never going to point out the flaw in you and then start talking about what are you going to do to improve it and then do the work to implement it. But you want somebody else to point out their flaws. That's how losers think. See, losing teams, when they lose, what they start doing is pointing the finger. So when I'm looking at a losing group of people, you know what I see? A lot of finger pointing. Don't see nobody talking about what they're going to do to make the situation get better. What I see on losing groups is I see a bunch of finger pointing. And a lot of times you think that you're being helped because somebody's giving you a list of people to point a finger at. My question is, when are you going to point the finger at yourself? Because if you're part of the group and they're losing and you're part of the group, well, what role did you play in it? So you telling me you're the only person in the group that's doing what needs to be done, but they still losing? You can't be doing what needs to be done. Because if it was the case, you wouldn't be of a group of people that's constantly losing. You would figure something out to be successful. So you can't be doing everything that needs to be done. So there's a level of leadership and a level of growth that you're not willing to get to put your group in a position to be successful, right? And it may not be in you. That's a reality. It just may not be in you to get to that level. But when I'm looking at losing groups, what I see is a lot of finger pointing. When I'm looking at winning groups and they're not successful, what I see is the individual people taking accountability for themselves and then making the individual changes to make the overall team better. They're not looking to say, well, you know what? I'm waiting for this to happen. So we're looking at a screenshot of the 2012 Heat, right? Well, that not the same exact team, but that core of that team lost to the Mavericks. I want to say like 09, 010, maybe 2010, 2011. You know, the NBA be doing that split year thing. When they lost that finals, a lot of people outside of the Heat and really outside of the state of Florida pointed a lot of fingers at LeBron. LeBron didn't do this. LeBron didn't do that. LeBron didn't do this. LeBron didn't do that. Now, I mean, you had to be an idiot to think LeBron was not an elite player, right? I mean, I don't know. A lot of these people say stuff to they know there's a level of hate for a player, so I'm gonna feed that audience, and then I can get that audience and the people that like them to watch the show. But there was a lot of narrative being sent around that, well, you know, the Heat lost that finals because LeBron didn't show up. But you know what did not happen amongst the players or that team? They didn't start pointing the finger at LeBron. Individual players figured out how they was going to get better because they ain't got nothing to do with LeBron. Because the question is, if you playing on a team and the team lose, what could you have done to make the team win? So if you playing basketball and we lose by 4 points, but you missed 2 free throws in the game, well, you know what 2 of those 4 points could have came from. If we playing a basketball game, right, and we lose by 6 points, and I go pull up the spreadsheet and I say, well, you know what? They score 4 points off turnovers and you had 2 turnovers. Well, we know where them 4 points could have came from there. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So instead of me blaming the person, right, that might have missed a shot late in the game, because that's that stuff the media create. Well, you know, they didn't win because they didn't miss a shot. No, I'm looking at who turned the ball over in the first quarter that led the points. Because if we don't get those turnovers, we don't have to win no game-winning shot. We'll be up going into the late in the fourth quarter. So that's what I'm looking at. See, so when you are a player on the team and the team lose, what you need to do is look at your own performance and say, what could I have done to help this team win? What was my game? Did I play an A+ game? Did I play a perfect game? I played a perfect game. I grade out on this game 100%. That's what I did. Because if you didn't do that, then there's something that you could have did a little bit better that could have put your team in position to win. So you don't need to look at nobody else. You need to spend all your time looking at yourself. You understand me? So losing groups, losing teams, the individuals on the team point the finger as to why they losing. And they celebrate finger pointing. So the Heat would have never won if Pat Riley would have came out there and said, you know what? We gonna blame everything on LeBron, and Wade and Bosh and Chalmers and Ray Allen say, yeah, man, get on him. They would have never won doing that. So you really got to understand that's what's going on. And the fact that losers spend a lot of time finger pointing. Winners spend a lot of time trying to make themselves accountable to their own performance and trying to figure out how they're going to optimize their performance to be successful in that particular area. Okay? Now let's go to how can you remain a winner? Same thing, mindset. What mentality do you need to have to keep yourself a winner? How do you need to make your mentality, your psychology bulletproof? Because you're going to deal with trials and tribulations. Everything not going to always go your way. But the difference between a winner and a loser is a winner gets knocked down and gets back up. Losers get knocked down and stay down. And then they look to aggregate around a bunch of other people that got knocked down and stayed down, so they feel a lot better about the fact that they got knocked down and stayed down, because they're not going to do what it's going to take to win. Nick Saban said that when he creates his program at Alabama, he creates an environment for exceptional people. He says because he understands that exceptional people and mediocre people don't like to be around each other. So he says if he creates an environment for exceptional people, the mediocre people will be uncomfortable in this environment. You understand me? So that's all he does, is he creates the environment. And he creates an environment where exceptional people can flourish. Don't mean you're going to be the All-American. Don't mean you're going to be the Heisman winner. Don't mean you're going to be the first round draft pick. But you just want to be exceptional at what you bring to the table for that particular team. All the mediocre people realize, you know what, I'm in the wrong place. Because there's a standard here with the expectations that you're going to be exceptional at what you do. Like I say, everybody not going to be the first round draft pick. Everybody not going to the NFL. The majority of people that play for Nick Saban don't make the NFL. Don't mean you're not exceptional at what you do. If you the long snapper, be exceptional at being a long snapper, right? If you on the field goal team, be exceptional at that. That's your job. Be exceptional at your job. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So he creates an environment where exceptional people are comfortable and they flourish, and people that want to be mediocre realize I'm in the wrong place because I don't want to be around some other mediocre people who are comfortable being mediocre just like me. So when you are being aggregated on these platforms, look around. Are you around a bunch of people that's really exceptional? Are they acting like they're exceptional? Are they faking like they're exceptional? Are they really exceptional by what they do? And I don't necessarily mean income. I mean they're exceptional at what they do, right? And you know this deep down inside your heart, whether or not you're really exceptional at what you do. Now, some of y'all just exceptional by blaming other people. But are you really exceptional at what you do? Do you really seek to be very, very good at what you do? Because I tell people all the time, people down talk a lot of people in the celebrity world and don't understand is that you're talking about somebody who is one of the top people in the world at what they do. And the average American is not one of the top people in the world at what they do. They're not even top 100. Most people don't have a desire to be really exceptional at what they do because it's easy to find a bunch of average people. It's hard to find exceptional people in any area. I don't care if you're a librarian. I don't care if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, right? I don't care if you work for wastewater treatment. It's hard to find people that have made a commitment to be really exceptional at what they do. It's easy to find people that are really exceptional at being average, about being mediocre, and about blaming other people for their problems. It's easier now because of social media to aggregate a bunch of mediocre and average people and to convince them that they're exceptional, even though they're not, and then to give them somebody to point the finger at. That's easy to do. It's been going on for a very long time, right? Second thing, work. How do you remain a winner? You got to consistently put the work in. You got to optimize the work that you're doing. You got to improve your processes. You got to iterate your processes. How do we get better and better at what we're doing? You may find out that I can't do the same workload I might have did 20 years ago, but I can just modify it so I still get the same amount of performance, even though can't do the same workload. As you get older, you might not be able to do 16-hour days. So how do you optimize your performance to where you can do a 10-hour day, but still get that same amount of performance or results out of your work, right? So it's the work. That's how you remain a winner. Third thing, going back to leadership, right? Going back to leadership. If you put yourself in a leadership position, you're responsible, right? You're responsible. First person you're responsible for leading is yourself. It's going to be difficult for you to be successful without leading yourself. You got to be accountable to you first before you be accountable to anybody else. You can't expect somebody else to show up in your life better than you going to show up. You're not a child, you're grown. Okay? So many people are looking for somebody else to do something for them that they're not willing to do for themselves. Don't work that way. And that's how losers think, right? The way you're going to remain a winner is to continue to show leadership over yourself. Everything is not going to go the way you want it to go at every time. Sometimes you may be delayed in getting what you want to get. But if you continue to maintain on what you're doing, you can be successful, because I'm going to repeat myself again because I want you to understand it. Difference between winners and losers. Losers get knocked down, they stay down, and they look for other people that stay down with them so they can feel better about staying down. Winners get knocked down, they get back up. They figure out a way to get back up, and they get back in the game, and then they figure out a way to become successful at what they're doing, right? So you really, really got to understand that. So if you want to be a winner, start looking at the kind of people that you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a bunch of people that everything in their life is somebody else's fault? It's never on them. That they got a list of people to blame about why they don't like their life. They seek this out. Who's the people right now today about why I don't like my life? It was interesting to me that social media and a lot of these political pundits took a congresswoman from New York City, right? The majority of the country don't live in New York City. They took a congresswoman from New York City and said, you know what? This is the reason why you don't like your life. Half them people don't know who the congressperson is over their own district, but they weren't about a congresswoman in New York City. These people are losers. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm just saying that to keep it a buck. These people are losers. Because why are you worried about a congresswoman in New York City and you live in Iowa or you live in Nebraska? Why do you care? How does that affect your day-to-day life? But it gives you somebody to point the finger at as to why you're not happy with your life. And because of social media, we now have these massive aggregation platforms where we can aggregate a bunch of people who are losers. This used to be very difficult to do 30 years ago. You had to put them inside a stadium. Now you can just jump on YouTube or jump on Facebook or jump on another platform, and the platform will aggregate them for you, and then you now just got to present them with the content. And now here's the person for you now to focus on your disappointment and your frustration with your life. Focus it on this person. Tomorrow, I'm going to have another person. The next day, I'm going to have another person. Not to say that things don't happen in the world, but what I'm saying is that winners are focused on winning. They're not focused on the blame game. They're focused on, regardless of what happens in this world, how do I take that situation and put me and my people in a scenario to win from it? Right? Because sometimes you can't change what's going on, but you can change your reaction to it. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? You can't change what's going on. There are things going on that's going to be way above your head, going to be above your pay grade. But you can change your reaction to what's going on. Right? So when somebody's presenting something to you to get a reaction from you, right? You got to ask yourself, why are they presenting this information to me to get a reaction from me? And they don't have a plan for us to win from the information. Right? But that's for people that are concerned with winning. If you just cool with losing, then you just trying to get a reaction from the scenario. So that's going to be the laws of game for Sunday. Told you it's not going to be that long, but it ended up being a little bit longer than what I thought it was going to be. Hope you could take something from this. If you know somebody that can get value from it, share it out. This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, and I'll talk to you later.